guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here. So today I'm going to be filming my first part of my book unhaul because I have over 150 books to unhaul. I got a new bookshelf and I literally blitzed everything and made it all look really neat and tidy and lovely, but in order to do so I needed to get rid of some books because I had over 350 books and I just did not have any time to read those or any space for them. So yeah, I literally started culling my books and then I was like, wait a minute, I have like 150 here. So I'm going to split this into two videos. I'm going to try and go quite quickly, but I know what I'm like. So this is probably going to be like a half-an-hour video, or at least between the two videos. I don't know how long it will be. We'll find out at the end, but I feel like it's going to be quite a long time, so get yourself a snack. This is the thing that YouTubers say, isn't it? Get yourself a snack, have a cup of tea, put your feet up, enjoy yourself, and I'll see you in a second. Did you go and get one? Now you're gonna miss out. Okay, let's go. So basically, one of the main things I did when I went through the books was just did that whole, like, was it Marie Kondo style, like, if it doesn't bring me joy, get rid of it. So basically any book that I'm not really excited to read, I'm getting rid of because I have too many books. Every book on my shelf now I'm really excited about, so basically that's how I'm doing it. So the first book I'm getting rid of is Kiss the Girls by James Patterson. This book actually is very exciting to me, but I also have another copy of it, so in fact I'll get it out because it's right here. I own this copy, so I'm keeping this one and getting rid of this one because this is kind of, this one has like an extra story in the back of it, like it's called The Witnesses, I believe. It's another James Patterson story, so I'm going to keep this one and get rid of this one. Then I'm getting rid of Bad Angels by Rebecca Chance. This is one of those like Hollywood break stories and I used to really like these, not so much anymore, so I'm getting rid of it. Then we have Lady Catherine and the Real Downton Abbey, which again is not really my type of thing. I believe this is like a non-fiction book and I don't really care. Then I have Under the Apple Tree by Lily and Harry. You'll notice a theme throughout this video. There's quite a lot of Lily and Harry books. These are kind of the books that are set in, these are the books that are set in Portsmouth during the Second World War, and although I love Second World War stories, these ones are just kind of a bit samey for me, so I'm getting rid of a lot of these books because they're not my taste anymore. Then I have Red Riding Hood by Sarah Blakely Cartwright and David Leslie Johnson. It's kind of a horror thing, I'm not interested. Next up is Dirty by Kylie Scott, which is a kind of rompy, erotic novel. Again, not really my thing. I then have In Real Life, My Journey to a Pixelated World by Joey Graceffa. I'm not the biggest Joey Graceffa fan, and I only bought this because it was on sale. I just don't really care. Then we have Kissing Under the Mistletoe by Marina Adair. I bought this when I was part of a Goodreads group that was to do with like picking that people picked books for you. I think I'd put it on my wish list on on Goodreads because I'd seen the synopsis, but again I'm kind of fallen out of this one, I don't really care. Then I have Oedipus Rex by Sophocles. This is a play, it's really short. It's like not very interesting to me. Then I have Lifeguard, James Patterson and Andrew Gross. Yeah, Gross. I've actually decided that I have way too many James Patterson books to read and I'm never going to read them all. So I'm keeping 3 series. I'm keeping the Women's Murder Club series, the Private series and the Detective Alex Cross series. I'm not sure what the name of that one is. This is a standalone and I'm getting rid of it. Then I have Ma, He Sold Me for a Few Cigarettes by Martha Long. This is a memoir and I find that the books about horrible things that have happened to children when they're young just are not good for my mental health, and I struggle with like reading about children being abused and things, so I'm going to get rid of all the books I have to do with that. So again, another theme that you'll see in a little bit. Next up is The Runaway by Martina Cole. This book's massive and it's about London's East End and to do with gangs and things, and I'm just not interested. Then I have My Sister the Moon by Sue Harrison, which is part of a series. I believe the other 2 books in this series are in this pile somewhere. And it's kind of like about tribes and things, and again, it's not really my thing. Then I have The Concrete Blonde by Michael Connolly. I often find that kind of LAPD or like detective books are quite samey, so if I'm not really interested in the author, I'm not really going to keep them anymore, so I decided to get rid of this one. Then I have Where Rainbows End by Cecilia Ahern. I do like Cecilia Ahern, but she's quite forgettable, some of her books, and again, this one's not really interesting to me. I then have I Miss Mummy by Kathy Glass. This is another one of the kind of child abuse foster type things, and I'm just not going to read them anymore. And then I have The Devil in the Marshalsea by Antonia Hodgson, which is but set in 1727 in London, and it's kind of like a murder type thing. This time period doesn't really interest me. In fact, I don't really like the 1700s in history generally, so gonna get rid of this one too. Next up is The Crossing by Michael Connolly. This is another one of the kind of crime novels that I'm not keeping. Then I have Tiny Prisoners by Maggie Hartley, another one about children and abuse. Hunter Killer by Chris Ryan. Chris Ryan, as I mentioned in my wrap-up, is not an author that I generally enjoy. I like a couple of his books, and this is about kind of MI5, MI6, SAS type things. Not really interested. I then have The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared by Jonason. I bought this in a charity shop because I think I'd seen it on BookTube, but I generally have no idea what it's about, and I'm not picking it. I'm not reaching to pick it up, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Then I have Blood Ties by Sophie Mackenzie. This is another kind of crime type one, and again, I'm not interested. Then I have Blueprints by Barbara Delinsky. I don't know what this is about, and I really don't like the cover on it, and it's not interesting to me. Next up is Flawless by Tilly Bagshaw. This is another one of those kind of Hollywood ones that I was talking about earlier, and it's not really reaching out to me, and I've had this probably for about 7 or 8 years, so I'm clearly not going to read it at this point. Then I have The Forbidden Queen by Anne O'Brien. This says on it Better Than Philippa Gregory, and I find Philippa Gregory's books not that easy to read at the minute, so I kind of don't really want to read this either. It's about the 1400s again, and a period in time where I'm not that bothered, so I'm not going to read that. Then we have The Peacock Emporium by Jojo Moyes. I did like Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, but this one is set in like the 60s or something and doesn't reach out to me. Then I have a lot of books from the Vampire Diaries series. Now I read the first Vampire Diaries book, I think it was booked 1 and 2 in the series. I want to say like a couple of years ago, and really wasn't that big of a fan, so I prefer the TV series, so I'm going to get rid of those. So I have Shadow Souls, which is book 6, and Nightfall, which is book 5. I also have 3 of the Stefan's Diaries set, so I have Origins, which is volume 1, Bloodlust, which is volume 2, and The Asylum, which is volume 5. I think I have more of these in the pile somewhere, so you'll probably see them in a bit as well. Next up is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is another massive book that I bought not that long ago actually. It was shortlisted for the Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction 2016, but I've seen a lot of conflicting things about this, and apparently it's a really hard book to read, like you really have to kind of focus on it, and it's just not doing it for me. Then I have James Bond and Moonraker by Christopher Wood, and my dad read these and said that they're literally nothing like the films, and they're like really small mass market paperbacks, and I'm just not really into them, so I'm going to get rid of this. Then I have Masters of War by Chris Ryan, another Chris Ryan book. Then Doctor for Friend and Foe by Rick Jolly, which is about a medic in the fight for the Falklands. This is kind of like a army book, I guess, which, to be honest, I quite enjoy these books. I think it's Royal Marines actually. But I think a lot of the time you kind of have to have been in the forces to know kind of exactly what they're talking about, and so I'm not going to read this. I then have James Bond on Her Majesty's Secret Service by Ian Fleming, another one I'm not going to read. Then Just a Little Run Around the World by Rosie Swale Pope, and this is a true story of a woman who did 5 years, I think, of running around the world. I'm not going to read this. Then I have Dancing Till Midnight by Rosie Goodwin, which is another one similar to the Lily and Harry books. Talking of Lily and Harry, then I have Tuppence to Spend by Lily and Harry. Another one that's quite similar, Lights Out Liverpool by Maureen Lee, getting rid of this one as well. And then finally I'm getting rid of Untamed by PC and Kristen Cass, which is one of the House of Night series. I read the first 2 in the series, I think last year, and I did enjoy it, but I've kind of forgotten about it now, so I'm kind of not that interested. Next up is Kindred Spirits by Rainbow Rowell. This was like 50p. It was one of those like cheap books for World Book Day. I love Rainbow Rowell, but I don't want to keep this tiny little book on my shelf, so I'm not interested. Then I have Echoes by Danielle Steele. I have kept most of my Danielle Steele books because I do really like her, but certain ones I'm not that interested in, or I'd rather get them from the library because this is like a mass market paperback and I don't like it. Then I have The Tudors, The King, the Queen and the Mistress, and I don't know who this is written by, Anne Gracie, based on the Showtime series. Now, I'm not a big fan of books that are based on the TV series. I'd rather just watch the season, so I'm going to get rid of this. Then I have The Abortionist's Daughter by Elizabeth Hyde. This is the only one in this whole haul, I think, that I've actually read before, and I've read it, so I don't need to keep it anymore. Then I have Bungalow 2 by Danielle Steele. This is another mass market paperback, and I'd rather get it out of the library. Then I have a Lily and Harry book. This is Goodbye Sweetheart. And another mass market paperback from Danielle Steele, and this is Changes. And then I have Ellie Pride by Annie Groves, and this is another kind of 1900s like romance type thing, and it's not really my type of book at the minute. Next I have Evermore by Alison Noel, which is part of the Immortal series. I'm pretty sure I have more books from this series in this pile somewhere. I just don't really care about this book. Then we have Mother's Ruin by Nicola Barry, which is another book about kind of alcohol and how it affects a child and child abuse and things, so I'm going to get rid of this. Next we have In the Dark by Mark Billingham, and this is another one of those like crime books that just doesn't stand out to me. I then have He's the One by Katie Price. Now, I've read Katie Price novels in the past and I don't mind them, but they're not like my favourite books ever, and this is kind of a bit sort of celebrity Hollywood type thing again, so getting rid of this one. Then I have Siege by Simon Kernick, another crime one that doesn't stand out to me. Then I have Fake Lie Cheat by Todd Goldberg, and this is another Hollywood type book. I have a classic next, which is Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. I'm not interested in reading this. Then I have The Girl Without a Voice by Casey Watson, and this is another one about sort of child abuse and about fostering and things, and I don't think I want to read this. The next two I was a little unsure of because they are classics, and then I thought, am I really interested to read them? And then I thought, no, not really, so I'm going to get rid of them. And that is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with the Merry Men and Other Stories by R.L. Stevenson, getting rid of that one. And Hard Times by Charles Dickens, going to get rid of this one too. I think I have that Charles Dickens works on my Kindle anyway, so if I really wanted to read it, I could just read it on my Kindle. Then I have Blue Moon by Alison Noel. This is another book from the Immortal series. And Make Me by Lee Child, which is one of the Jack Reacher novels. Now, this is book like 17 in the series, and I do really like the Jack Reacher series, but I think if I was going to read them, I would just get them from the library and start at the beginning, because I don't really want to read number 17 before number 1, like it seems a bit silly. So I'm going to get rid of this one. Now I have the last stack that I'm going to talk about in this haul. These are all mass market paperbacks, so this might explain one reason why I'm getting rid of them. So the first one is Rough Justice by Gilda O'Neill, and again this is another one set in the 30s, and this is kind of about kind of women and romance and all that stuff. Then I have two Lily and Harry books. We have A Farthing Will Do and Dance Little Lady. Then I have Morning Doves by Helen Forrester. This is another one set in Liverpool, and it's that like 20s kind of romancy type thing. Then another Lily and Harry book, we have Corner House Girls. Then I have Mummy Told Me Not to Tell by Kathy Glass, which is another Foster type book. Then Forgive and Forget by Margaret Dickinson. This is set in 1911. It's another one of those kind of romancy type books. I'm not going to read this. Then we have Passion by Louise Bagshaw, which is kind of like a Hollywood type thing. And finally P.S. I Love You by Lily and Harry. Again, I'm not reading Lily and Harry anymore. So those are all the books in part 1 of this haul. I hope that you like this video. I know there's a lot of books. I think there's about 70 books in this haul, and there will be about 80 in the other one. So I haven't filmed that yet, but I'm just about to, so this is going to take a long time. I hope that you liked this video. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know if there are any books you think I should reconsider, although I would really like not to, so you're going to have to really sell them to me. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I shall see you in my next one. Bye guys.